Hello, kart racing fans. This is Norcal Karters, and today's special episode, this is a PR style podcast, so we'll just get that out of the way right now. It's presented by sanzarukarting.com. That's SANZARU, karting with a K, KARTING.com, sanzarukarting.com. And in this podcast, we're going to highlight the Rok Festival West event that was at Sonoma with focus on junior driver Christian Cameron. And this is going to be a little bit of a different style podcast because I actually work directly for Christian. So it's going to be from my point of view and my perspective. But again, this is a paid-for podcast, and it was brought to you by Sanzaru Karting. And if you, for some reason, have the podcast, if it shuts off on you, if you're listening from a mobile device and every few moments it kind of shuts down, you have to go back in, check your settings, go into the background, make sure whatever application you're using, whether it's a web browser or YouTube or SoundCloud or the Spreaker app, make sure it has permissions to run in the background. And then also, if you have like a battery saver or a data saver mode set, that may also interrupt the podcast. So let's get to it. So first, the sponsor, sanzarukarting.com. Their next race event is October 24th and 25th, and that will be at Sonoma. It's a double header weekend. They're going to run two different track layouts. So again, that's the sanzarukarting.com Rock Sonoma event. It's their last event of the year at the Sonoma track. This is going to take place October 24th and October 25th. And again, doubleheader, two different layouts. And they're lining up some special prizes, some special cash prizes for various classes. And for a lot of racers, this is going to be the last opportunity to get a warm-up in or a shakedown before Rock the Rio. From my understanding, as of this morning, the Rock Cup USA group, they're still working on Rock the Rio. So for a lot of us, this is going to be our last warm-up before the Rock the Rio event in November. And then for some of you, maybe this will be the last event of the year. And what great way to do it. They offer a lot of classes out there. Again, go to their website, sanzarukarting.com, and you can check out the classes that they offer. For the NorCal groups, they have added the IAMI 100cc product and the IAMI Mini products to kind of fill that void in Northern California for those racers that own those products. So you're eligible to race at the event with those packages as well. And again, sanzarukarting.com. And I'm also going to mention CameronKarting.com throughout the podcast because they're tied in with Christian Cameron. That's the driver we're going to talk about today. And again, this is from my point of view. So it's going to be a little bit different style. And the reason I wanted to do it this way was I think different perspectives are pretty neat. And it's when you're hands-on with a program, you kind of see things from your point of view. And I'm trying to get away from the canned PRs, the generic descriptions of an event. And so this is going to be something we're going to try out. And we've had a couple of guests on the past. You can check out previous interviews with Rory Vandister with Magic Kart. And then we also did an interview with Hunter Pickett with GFC Karting. So again, this is going to be a little bit different style for me, and we're going to try it out. But this particular one is from my point of view. And I'm going to ramble a lot on this one because I'm just a rambler. But it was such a weekend of just thrashing. And it was really, I had to really take some time to write my notes down and get everything in order. Because honestly, the weekend kind of seemed like a blur. And it wasn't a thrash for any outside reason. And I'll get into all the little details. But so we had entered Christian in the mini rock class, and he's been running the mini rock all year at Sonoma. He's also participated in some IAMI mini events as well throughout the West Coast. So, we were practicing the race weekend before. We were racing the mini rock class. And unfortunately, right off the bat at the previous kart race, two of our drivers in the class got hurt. We have, Nico Sarfati, he had re-injured or broke his collarbone, and Anthony White was injured, and Anthony's out for the rest of the year. Cameron Karting has actually set up a GoFundMe account to help with some of the medical expenses for Anthony White. He incurred an ambulance ride, life flight, spent a few days in the hospital. So, by all accounts, he should have a full recovery. But as any of us know that have to deal with medical, those bills can skyrocket pretty quickly. So there's a GoFundMe account set up for Anthony. And again, just to kind of help out where the karting community can with some of those expenses. Last time I took a helicopter ride, it was in Hawaii. So, and I paid for it up front. So again, anything, can help. Again, check out the GoFundMe account. But the reason I bring that up was typically at the Rok Sonoma stuff, we have anywhere between, 5, 6 to 10 mini rock drivers. And it's the same drivers always running against each other. And, two of them are unable to race at this Rok Fest West event. So on Thursday, the unofficial practice day for Rock Cup, we're running around, and it was Christian Cameron with his Cameron Karting Tony Kart. And again, he's in the mini rock class. We're practicing. And there was only one other kid, Alex Rentala. Well, Alex and Christian go back and forth all year long. It's in practice they battle. In the pits they go play and they battle. During the race they battle. So all year long has been these two kids just banging into each other. Not in a bad way. Just if the dad's listening, he's probably laughing because him and I, we've had a couple of blown sessions with brand new tires where, okay, kids, give us some space, give us some data. And they nod their head yes, and then they get on the track and it's full race mode. And it's been fun to watch. But it was Alex Rentala and it was Christian Cameron. Those were the only two. And yeah, I actually really feel bad for, Grayson Schobert, I believe is the other mini rock driver's name. Yeah, he flew in from out of the area. He wasn't there on Thursday when we were talking about possibly doing a different program. But I felt bad for Grayson that, that the Speed Sense crew, they showed up and they found out that Alex and Christian had moved up to the 100 junior class, and it was only provisional, one race only. And it was just a thrash because on Thursday, in the mini kart, we end up destroying a brake rotor. No one had a brake rotor that would fit the kart. So Tavish ran back to the shop, and he ended up pulling a kart apart, pulling the axle out. We put that back in. So that was Thursday. Just go. And it's like, okay, I need to get him back on the track. Let's get some practice time in. We were doing some engine testing with the mini rock stuff. And we lost a lot of valuable track time because I did not want to use Friday as our engine test day. I wanted to get that done on Thursday. So Thursday, we're mini rock, broken rotor, swapping axles, all that fun stuff. It's like, all right, that just goes with it. And so Friday rolls around. In the first practice session, we roll out, and it was just Alex and Christian. And I think Grayson he was going to show up later in the day. That was the deal. So I'm looking around, and I call Christian's dad, and I say, hey, before I do anything, can we maybe ask if we can run the 100cc class? There's only two kids on the track right now, him and Alex, and there was over 10 in the junior 100cc class. So Steve said over the phone, yeah, well, let's do it. And then the first thing he says is, find us an engine. That was kind of my secondary focus. We didn't have a cart. It's not like we could just, hey, Christian, go jump in your 100cc cart. We didn't have a cart set up for him. So it's like, all right, we need to get him back on the track as fast as we can. We're making a big jump. I had confidence that Christian would be able to adapt to the bigger cart and the faster engine. Otherwise, I never would have put him in a situation where he was way out of a comfort zone. The biggest thing was, let's get him on the track. So Friday, we ran, I think we did 2 practice sessions in the mini Rock, and then we scrapped that program. We set it aside. The race director said, look, this is provisional. And I go, what do you mean provisional? He said, well, we're going to see how these 2 kids do, being Christian Cameron and Alex Rentala, in the 100cc during practice today. And if we find that they're not at that level or safe, etc., we're going to put you back in mini for the rest of the weekend. So I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I need the seat out of the mini cart for the full-size cart. So, well, don't pull that cart apart in case we have to go back to it. And again, I didn't really have major concerns that Christian or Alex weren't able to run the 100cc. But it was just a thrash. So we had to build a full-size cart. We had to source an engine. And midway through Friday, we ended up putting just a shop stock VLR on the cart. And my biggest focus on Friday is like, let's get him on the track. If I have to swap engines tonight, I don't care. But let's get him on the track. Let's get him comfortable. Let's get him in a full-size cart. Let's get him up to weight. Just all of these things are going through my head. And late Friday afternoon, I had sourced an engine. It's like, all right, we have an engine to go on. But whether I can grab it tonight, I didn't know, or whether it was going to be a Saturday morning swap, etc. Well, that engine deal fell through. The team said, nope, we're not able to do it now. So I'm looking at our engines like, okay, well, this is what we have. One of the other guys that used to help Christian last year, he also was running around the pits, and he sourced an engine from Alex Keys Racing and Jacob Hoover. And I want to say thank you to those guys, because they told us this is our second engine. You can rent it. That's fine. It's a good one. I go, okay, whatever. I need an engine. So we grabbed it. We put it on. Well, then I went to tech, and I'm giving him the serial numbers, and I said, okay, well, I need to seal this number. And he goes, well, it's already sealed. And I go, yeah. We're renting this engine from the Hoovers. They're with Alex Keys Racing. So the tech guy's going through the documents and said, well, they have this engine listed as their number 2 engine. And I kind of froze for a second. And I'm standing there. We're rushing to get ready to go qualify. Again, everything was just a thrash. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, well, can both of us share the engine? Because they rented it to us. It's on our cart. And they go, well, we can share it, but what happens if he needs it back? And I go, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess we have to give him back the engine. It's their engine. But again, the Hoovers rented us their second engine on their tech form. So I was sitting there, it's like, well, I just don't have time to go run around and find out exactly how they want to handle this. So I just told them, I go, okay, I guess we'll do it as a shared engine. Hopefully they don't have a problem and we end up without an engine. Let's move our first tech engine to our second engine, just so we have some sort of a backup. And so the tech guy's, all right, we're fine as long as they're fine with it. It's like, well, I guess worst case scenario, we're going to be the ones scrambling. So again, it was a thrash. And it wasn't really until qualifying where things just really, we took a deep breath. Christian did a great job getting up to speed with the full-size cart. On Friday, we only got one practice session in the 100cc. So we were already a day and a half behind everybody else. And I just told him, I go take it easy. I don't care about how fast you go. we just need to figure out some sort of a tire pressure, and we need to figure out, kind of how the engine's running. Let's go see what we can do for a gear. Just do whatever you can, but you have to get your full practice session in. Qualifying rolls around, and we qualified 5th. And I'm looking at it. It's like we were about 0.6 off, and I'm looking at that. I was ecstatic with that. And in the mini rock, we're battling for the win for heats, qualifying, mains. We're always battling for the win, always. In the 100cc, we're racing older kids. We're racing kids that have been running this platform for a couple of years. And when we qualified 5th, like, all right, this gives us a good shot this weekend to, let's not go too far ahead, but stand on the podium. But at least we're looking at the back of the podium. It's like, man, this is good. And so we qualify, and then things just start settling down. It's like, all right, we have a driver, we have a cart, we have a running package. Everything is good. Let's take a quick little break, get dialed in for Heat 1. So at the Rok Festival stuff, what they do is they have qualifying and the heat race on the same day. And so the heat starts. And I don't remember the exact details of how this happened, but Christian ended up in the lead. And he was battling for the lead with Jacob Hoover and Chase Hand. And when I mean battling, he was crossing them over. They were crossing him over. They were racing each other hard, and he's in the lead. It's like, and the rest of the Cameron crew they're just kind of losing it. They're just like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And I'm sitting back going, I honestly, I was not expecting him to battle for the lead in the very first heat race. Wasn't expecting that. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is good. We have a solid podium chance this weekend. That would be a great showing. Being bumped up to the 100cc stuff, this is going to be a great showing for the weekend. All right, let's just get through the heat races. And again, it was a great heat race. And he was battling with Jacob Hoover the first couple of laps. Hoover finally got around us and slowly checked out. Part of that was because Christian was very, very, very aggressive. And him and Chase got into this battle for almost half the heat race of just back and forth. And, as you get to these older classes and with tag racing, it's pretty important to kind of work together to make sure you either pull away from a pack or you catch the guy in front of you. Well, that wasn't going on. And so Hoover was able to pull away. And so Chase and Christian were battling, just going back and forth. And there was some really good racing action on the track. We're side-by-side passing, going through the corners, coming on the straightaway side-by-side. It was really fun to watch, but also I realized we were losing speed, and I did not want to burn through our tires. But I was ecstatic. We were battling for a top 3 position. And on the last lap, in the Laguna corner, Christian's in 3rd, and there was kind of a slight opening going into Laguna that Chase had left, and Christian made this, let's call it a dive bomb maneuver into the corner, and made contact with the rear of Chase. Chase was able to continue on. He still had a 2nd place finish. We, however, ended up spinning out and losing a couple of spots, dropped back to 5th. And we got back to the pits, and we talked about it. I was like, hey, this Heat 1, you're doing great already. Just let's maintain and let's work to make you faster. We were, in the heat race, we were about 0.3 off consistently. And I tried to explain to Christian, we're just going to chip away at this. It's right now, all of these heat races are progressive. So we need to make sure we finish at least where we start. And if it's a good, safe maneuver that doesn't scrub our tires or scrub our track time, go for it. And then we're going to close the gaps. So in qualifying, we were 0.6 off. In the heat race, we were only 0.3 off when you're looking at overall lap times, etc. That maneuver dropped us back a little bit, but it's a learning experience, and I think Christian wanted to really prove himself that he can race with the big kids, Because, in karting, the younger kids look up to the bigger kids, and the bigger kids look up to the adults. And he was probably very excited. He's out there, racing with these kids he was been watching. Very, very competitive class. And so it's, again, he was kind of thrown into this whole scenario on a thrash of moving him to the 100cc class. So that's it. Heat 2 and 3 for me was just such a disappointment. My daughter had called and she said, "Hey, Dad, will you record some video? I want to see your driver on the track, so record some video." And so Heat 2, Heat 2 was actually good. Heat 2, we finished third. Heat 3 and 4 is where we had the problems, and those were the two I was recording. We finally we were just spaced out. We had time, so I started recording, and not sure what the problem was. The most frustrating part about engine things that you just can't put your finger on, you pull your hair out. Well, going down the straightaway, all of a sudden it just slowed down, and then it fired back up. And so what had happened is in the Heat 3, crossing the start-finish line, the engine just started to slow down. Well, Christian was in front of a pack. So he was running, I think, in third or fourth at the time. The engine slowed down and we still don't know why. It just slowed down. So Christian stayed wide going into one, put his hand in the air, but he was going to try to go around the corner because it had shut off previously, and then it turned right back on. So he's entering turn one wide, and then a kid further back in the pack in this group of karts just didn't see him, and they ended up collecting each other. So that was our first DNF of the weekend. So we go back to the pits. Alex Keys Racing, his dad Bill, his brother Matt. They all came over. Hey, what's going on? It's like, I'm not sure. It just all of a sudden slowed down, and so, Bill took the carburetor and went through the carburetor. We're starting to go through things, and there was just nothing that said, "Oh yeah, this is your problem." And you look on the data and you can see it drop off, and it's like, what's going on? And so all of us were trying, and I replaced all the fuel line, the fuel filter, etc. It's like, I'm not taking any. I don't know. It did it earlier in the day, and then again it just took back off. But it's only the first couple of laps. And so we got everything going for the fourth heat, and a kind of a similar problem. It just slowed down on the straight at the start finish line. Just started slowing down. And it was only the first lap or two. Then the problem went away, and we were able to pick off. And Heat 4 we didn't really crash out because of an engine problem. We had just made contact. Christian made a little bit of contact with another driver, and our teammate was right behind Christian. And looking at the video, as a driver, I understood what happened. The other driver set up really wide, also in going into Laguna, and Christian thought he could make the pass. And but there was a little bit of contact made when the other driver realized he was wide. Then Christian's the front of his cart climbed the rear of the tire. So Christian's on the back of the cart in front of him. Well, then our teammate was following Christian through and just going to follow Christian around the other cart. Well, then hit our rear bumper and just kind of shot us off the track. And that was our Heat 4. But a really nice thing about the Rok group, and I want to say thank you to the Rok guys. I had a view of one of the cameras where it's like, well, there's definitely contact made, and I didn't know if our teammate pushed us into the other driver first or not. And then we're looking at the video, and I told him, I go, you know what? I don't know. I could argue this both ways. The angle's just not good enough. And the race directors, the reason they wanted to show us the video, they had their eye on Alex and Christian because they had told us this is provisional. So if there's any contact, we're going to look at it really hard. So they came over to the pits and they said, look, this is not a penalty. But here's the video. This is what happened. And later, the race director came back to the pit with another angle of the camera actually off of the tower. And then you see that angle of these cameras. And the Rok Festival guys had cameras all over the track. I mean, it was really, really neat to see. And there's the bigger racing programs are starting to do this for part of their marshaling system. Well, they showed me the other view from the top of the tower. And it was very clear that the other kid just blew the corner. And Christian thought he was going to be able to make it. I think all of us looking at it would have done the exact same thing. Well, when the contact was made, I'm pretty sure our teammate thought that Christian was just going to drive right by the other guy and just blew us off the track. Not his fault either. He just thought Christian had a pass and was going to follow him for the pass. And I really appreciated the time that Rock Cup came again. They said, hey, we found another video. What do you think? And I go, well, obviously, that video clearly shows exactly what happened. And I thank those guys. I was like, you didn't have to come back over and show us. I mean, we weren't penalized or anything else. He goes, no. He goes, we're working together. We want to, we're doing this for improvement. And I thought that was a really nice touch. And again, the videos, they had cameras pretty much at all the main corners. And most of the corners had multiple angles. But you go to some races and they don't take that extra step of, hey, we're not penalizing you, but check this out. They were educating us. So that was really cool. So that was Saturday. So we had, again, we qualified 5th. Heat race, we were battling for the lead and eventually ended up running a solid 3rd. Christian was trying to get one more spot. He wanted to finish 2nd. Well, that shuffled us back to 5th. Second heat, we finished 3rd. And each race we're getting faster and faster. We're closing the gap on our lap times compared to Hoover and Hand. So we're closing those lap times. We're progressing. Heat 3 and 4 were just kind of, for me, an emotional letdown because we had 2 DNFs. Our weekend was looking really good. And with Rock, it's a progressive heat race structure. So if you finish 3rd, you start 3rd the next heat. And then you take all the heats, and then they use a point system to determine the starting position for the main. And the main event, we were going to start 7th. And that's, in any racing, when you're in the middle of the pack, it's always just one of those kind of nerve-wracking areas. You kind of want to be in the first row or two. Or me personally, I either want to be in the first couple rows or dead last so I can see everything happening. And so we started P7. And to myself, I'm just thinking, hey, we might be able to still get on the podium. If we can get through traffic fast enough, we might be able to see a podium. And our tires actually looked really good because we had, 2 heat races where there's only a couple of laps on each heat. So the tires looked really good. With the Rock group, you get 6 tires, you get 3 fronts, you get 3 rears. And so my plan the whole time was to use our new tires on one side in the main event. And I was just going back and forth to see how the tires were wearing through the heat races. So I was pretty confident that our tire system was going to work out pretty well for us. And so the main event rolled around, and there was a lot of racing between 3rd and 8th place. A lot of passing, a lot of shuffling, just a lot of racing. And so eventually, Christian was able to work his way through that pack. And at the end of the day, we finished 4th. To rewind a little bit, on Friday, I would have been happy just to be top 5 by the main event. Everything was kind of thrown a little awkward when he's dicing for the lead in the first heat. It's like, okay, let's just now we're contenders. So let's stay on that track. So again, we had a couple of DNS, we had a couple of issues. The main event, the engine ran solid, which I'm glad the engine ran solid, but I don't know why. I don't know what problem we ran into. Again, Bill Keys and Alex Keys Racing kept jumping in, and they were being very helpful with everything. The Hoovers, thank you. I mean, they rented us their Parfumé number 2 engine. So I mean, we had a good engine, and for whatever reason, not sure why, there was 0 issues in the main event, which is good. But again, it's kind of just one of those head scratchers. Like, man, what went on? And so the main event, I mean, we finished a very solid 4th. And if we were able to either work our way a little bit through traffic a little bit quicker, we were chasing down 3rd. I mean, it came down to the last lap. Our times were 4 or 5 tenths faster than 3rd. So we were chasing down 3rd, and there was a solid opportunity to actually get on the podium. And I mean, that's just, what a great weekend. I meant to do this, kind of the week of the event, but honestly, I was just burnt out, and I wanted to be able to get the thoughts in order. I mean, Christian did a really, really good job adapting to everything. His little buddy, Alex Rentala, also did a great job battling. I think both of them did a great job for going on Thursday to 100% mindset mini rock to mid-morning Friday. Hey, you guys want to go run 100cc? I knew the race promoters were going to be looking at us to make sure, hey, we're capable of running up here. I knew the 2 boys. I knew they were capable of running at that in that group. Otherwise, I never would have put Christian in that situation, and I never would have approached the other father and said, hey, can we move our kids up and at least go race and learn something this weekend? So all of that was really neat. I've already thanked Alex Keys Racing and the Hoovers multiple times in this podcast. Some other thank yous. It is going to sound a little self-serving, but Cameron Karting. We went from mini to 100. I keep saying that, but whatever. And Thursday for our mini program was a thrash when we broke the brake rotor, and Tavish had to run over to the shop, and no one had a spare brake rotor in the pits. So Tavish went back to the shop and pulled the axle out of Christian's other mini cart. We got that into the mini. So I mean, Tavish is just running around, just trying to keep all of his guys on track while working with his shifter driver, Neil Joseph. And they were in contention. They were, he's a contender. Neil Joseph is a contender in the master shifter class. So you got Tavish running around trying to, keep me working so I can get Christian back on the track. He has his own guy he's focusing on, Neil. And then we had Tyler Agan. Again, he's a hired mechanic for Cameron Karting, and he definitely stepped up to the plate and saved me a lot of time, because when we had those DNFs, we were working in the front of the cart and the back of the cart, and we were just kind of thrashing. We had to change an axle on the full-size cart with the 100 with one of the incidents, and I just looked at Tyler. I was like, hey, can you do the back, and I'll start on the front. And he goes, yep, no problem. So, Tyler jumped in multiple times throughout the weekend and just started. So he did the back end. I got the front end back straightened up. And again, he just jumped in. Well, he's kind of a general Cameron guy, but he was assigned to our teammate in the 100cc class. So he was assigned to that driver. He got his driver prepped, ready to go, boom. And then he came right over and it's like, all right, let's get this cart back on the track. And without that kind of help in the pits, we would have lost sessions. We didn't miss any practice sessions. So we had some thrashing, but we didn't miss any practice sessions, which was really nice. And yeah, it was a really fun weekend. It was stressful. It was burnout, kind of. I'm not really going to the track full time anymore. Just my own personal choice. I do not want to be at the track every single weekend racing. I don't want to do that. So we were at the track, the week before for 4 days, for Rok Fest for 5 days. And it was just thrash. We were thrashing on the Mini on Thursday because of the brake rotors issues and the engine testing. And I kind of knew that was going to happen until the brake rotor broke. It's like, okay, now there's even more work going on. And then Friday with a swap from Mini to Junior 100cc in the morning. But again, like I said, when qualifying rolled around, it was, man, we're top 5. We need to go faster because we were 0.6 off. So we need to find a little bit more speed, but we can chip away at it. And then again, Heat 1, it was really neat sitting back. I was excited, but I knew Christian can drive, so that wasn't the issue. But watching, Tavish and Dave and some of the other guys that have been working with Christian for a couple of years, they were like super fans and cheering them on. And it was really neat to see those guys get so excited for Christian doing so well in the heat race. But yeah, I mean, that was the Rok Fest. And again, that was the Cameron karting tent. And there's just, Kim was running back and forth doing the whole hospitality thing and making sure everyone had food and drinks and sandwiches. And so that was always good. And again, then you have Tavish running around making sure that, one, his driver is on track and competitive while making sure the other customers under the tent are being taken care of. You had Tyler jumping over and, helping in. And he wasn't just helping me. He was helping everybody. Tyler was really floating around and giving everybody a hand, which was nice. So, yeah, it was... I'm glad I was able to kind of sit back and look at the weekend and write the notes down, because being more calculated, I think, does it more of a service of what actually happened throughout the weekend, instead of just being in that moment, in that emotion of just, oh, it's a thrash. A lot of us that have been around karting for a long time understand there's times when you thrash, but to me, an ideal program is when you roll out of the trailer and all the shop work is done, the trailers or the cart's ready to hit the track when it's out of the trailer, and you're fine-tuning throughout the weekend. To me, that's the ideal weekend, where the critical building a cart happens at the shop weeks before. And sometimes that's not what happens. Sometimes you thrash and people dig down and they help. And yeah, it's just kudos. And again, Christian did a great job adapting to a full-size chassis, different power plant. His feedback was good. His driving, in the Mini, he's probably beyond the Mini as far as speed-wise. It just, he looks so comfortable in the Mini kart, being that he could throw it around. I mean, he could overdrive the crap out of that kart, but not drive off the track. But watching him in the 100cc full-size kart, I knew we had to maintain our tires. We had to make sure we saved our tires if we were going to have any chance at a podium on Sunday. And Christian did a great job of adapting the full-size kart and allowing the kart to do its job. His driving, his input, it was great. And it was improving through the weekend as we made things a little bit more comfortable for him. And as he got used to the size of the kart. I think that was probably part of the problem with, some of our on-track incidents. The full-size kart is bigger than a cadet kart. And then also in his head, he's probably thinking to himself, oh, I got more power. Well, everyone has more power. So it's when you get on the gas and your kart lurches compared to the Mini, well, everyone has that power. So it's a learning experience, but it was a great learning experience. And I think we learned a lot more with the 100cc stuff than we would have in the Mini class for this particular event. Again, we have raced Alex all year long with the Mini, and those kids know everything about each other on the track. Well, the 100cc, these were all new kids, all older kids. And it was just a really, really neat weekend watching the progression. And again, on Sunday, our racing was over. I knew my fate by 10 a.m., which sounds so funny. And I don't ever want to be a race promoter because you're always going to be wrong. It always drives me nuts at these big races when everyone goes on the track at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning or earlier. And then they race at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It's always been, it's like, what do we do for 6 hours? I mean, it's just a shakedown to make sure nothing falls off your cart. Because what are you going to learn when the track is completely different in 6 hours? And then there's a lot more racing. Well, what Rok does is they send out 3 to 4 groups in the morning. You practice. You have 30 minutes to get back to your pit, take your practice tires off, put your race tires on, fill up, make any last second changes. Then you go out for your main event. And Saturday night, my only 2 real concerns were, do we get the engine sorted? We thought we did because there was no issue with it in the Heat 4, but we also didn't get a lot of laps in because of the DNF. So I'm thinking, I had that on my mind. It's like we really didn't find anything. So the engine's kind of a question mark. And the weather. On Thursday morning, we showed up for practice, and at 9 o'clock, the fog was so low and heavy, the track was wet. And I didn't even send Christian out. It's like there was no point. The track was wet on Thursday. And that was my second thought on Saturday night. It's like, well, what track are we going to wake up to? Are we going to wake up to a cool, dry track, or are we going to wake up to a cold, wet track? And then, being that there's 45 minutes between practice and our green flag for the main event, is the track going to change? So, yeah, I kind of had different notes jotted down for what may or may not happen for that. But those were my only 2 concerns rolling into Sunday. And like I said, I was going to know my fate by 10 o'clock. How did we do? Because we were done racing by 10. And when you're sitting in tech at a national event, that's a good weekend. And things really, they kind of fell into place. And it was a great weekend. So that's how I'm going to wrap up this podcast. So again, thank you to Sanzaru Karting, SANZARU, karting.com, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. If you're a local shopper, team, or driver and you'd like something similar, reach out to us. Again, these are press releases, paid promotions. Also, in conjunction with Sanzaru Karting, Cameron Karting. So that's the team Christian drives for, and Cameron Karting. Everybody under the tent, thank you for your help, and also thank you to Alex Keys Racing and the Hoover family for the engine. You definitely bailed us out at the last moment. We thought we had another engine secured the night before, and Saturday morning rolled around, it was not secured. So thank you for that. Bill, thank you for overlooking the engine program and looking at the data with your boys, and again going through the carburetor and working with us to troubleshoot. And I don't know, I don't No, the engine ran flawless on Sunday. So again, it just those are always those head scratchers. But no, we had a very competitive package, and it was a great weekend.